yet. We're going to talk about a line of ships. This is something that's relatively new for us, and that's where we will look at a specific line of ships, talk about the features, the characteristics, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I need to pull up my notepad, and I need to get that visible. There we go. Okay, now the chat window may be in the way for this. Probably is.
It is a little bit.
Yeah, let's see. I can shrink it a tad, and maybe I can make it taller. But then I'm gonna have to mess with the positioning over here. So give me a moment.
Why don't you just, for this portion, partially ignore that Twitch chat window and just put the notepad in the foreground?
I could, but I think it's important. I'd rather have people able to comment as well and
Fair
participate because then that also
You're
shows up
really
on the
interactive on your stream.
right, and that shows up in the release anyway when I get this out on YouTube later. So I think that should be good for a notepad size. Let's take a look. Test, test, test. Okay, here we go. So give me a moment to just set a couple of things up, and then we'll launch into this. Is there a streamers versus winning team game in team league this time? I have no idea, IWAX. I haven't been told, but maybe there's. Check out the video for the song "Sing" by Travis if you want to see a spectacular food fight, including live octopus. Eesh. All right, so we have characteristics. Actually, we'll do strengths and weaknesses. And then we have high points, low points, suggested build. Suggested builds. What else do we typically do with it? And then we do a sample game. Am I missing anything? I think that's it. I think that's it. You hate the light cruiser so much? Well, they hate you. You're well away. Nest Eater, I'm doing fine, thanks. How are you? Suggested. So, Gaelic, that's something that I think when we play the game, that comes in better. Oh, that's a good point. I think play styles. That's what we're missing. Thank you, Gaelic. See, I knew I was missing something. I knew I was missing something, and we can always add more to it later as we need to. Seasoned Unicum player looking for established active clan with most, if not all, port upgrades unlocked. Professional life doesn't allow me to do clan wars. Gotcha. Ad break coming in. Rainy Sunday, good to play WoWs and watch your stream. Well, thank you. All right, now I will remind you guys, I am also on the YouTube, so you can dodge ads, you can listen to music or listen without music over on the YouTube channel and all that good stuff. Okay. All right. I think we're good to go. Okay. Okay. I think I'll add one more section here for concluding thoughts. All right. So, if y'all can help at this point, what we're going to try to do, I'm waiting for the ad break to finish ish. But let's try to keep things as focused as possible on the ships themselves and the line itself, and try to stay away from going off topic and stuff like that. I just want to make sure that we are all, you know, we're able to be efficient here and not spend a whole ton of time with what we usually do with this, which is a Zach chat on something totally different and random. Anyway,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
of course you have no idea what we're talking about. Of course. Actually, you know what? Can everybody in the voice chat right now just start saying something real quick? Just blah 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 blah. Just say something if you don't mind. Come on, Grunty, let's go. Scheist, let's go.
just said
They go.
something.
But if you look on this, I want to get all three of you at once. So, okay, cool.
You're like Jim Carrey.
Oh, that was great.
It's because you have such big jugs. I mean, I want to squeeze them.
Chat just came back from the ad break, and they're probably like, "What the f is happening? What did we miss in the ad break?"
You missed everything.
Everything, clearly. No, I wanted to test. I wanted to make sure that if we have three people talking at once, it doesn't really get too much in the way of the notepad, and it looks like it doesn't. So that's why I was just testing that. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be bringing, for your viewing pleasure, a review of the USN light cruiser line in World of Warships. This is the third most requested line so far. We started with American heavy cruisers, and then we went into Japanese heavy cruisers. And because the patch is up right now, it's recent enough that the replay render tool is broken. We're going to go ahead and do a line review today instead of doing replay analyses. So let's get to it by talking a little bit about what the line has to bring. Now, the light cruiser line here is a split. It used to be that there was one line all the way up to tier 10 Des Moines, and then Wargaming chose to split off several different lines in this game, and the light cruiser line is one of those. Light cruisers in World of Warships, and also I suppose in real life, are defined as ships that are typically below 8-inch gun caliber, so they're like under 200 millimeter guns. Those are considered light cruisers. In World of Warships, the heaviest or highest caliber light cruiser is probably the Soviet light cruisers at, what is it, 180 or 190?
180.
It's 180, thank you. I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but I knew it was one of those two. Now, for most light cruisers in the game, most light cruisers in the game, you'll see 6-inch guns. 6-inch guns are caliber of 155 millimeter when you convert that from 6 inches to millimeters. It's 152, 155, sometimes 150. There's always a little bit of rounding error there, but most of the time it's going to be 152. These ships in the game will typically have let me just go ahead and screenshot that for later purposes. But most of the time, these ships are going to have a lot of different characteristics. So let's kind of delve into them. I'm going to list them down as strengths and as weaknesses. One of the best strengths for this line is high rate of fire. You can see that as the second point right there. So because of their high rate of fire, they are exceptional at burning things to the ground. Whoops, wrong one there. They're exceptional at starting fires and then getting ships on fire again and again and again and again until they finally burn down. So that's another that's a really important strength. Now, there's another strength that you can see here under ship features. It says most effective when supporting Allied ships. The USN light cruiser line typically has a nice suite of consumables. Especially radar and hydro are the main two consumables that you'll typically see in this line, but there's other consumables too. Defensive anti-air fire is common as you get down towards the end. At tier 9 and 10, just like any other cruiser, they do have access to a heal, so that comes into play. Now, I'm going to mention also, it's not on the tooltip here, but one of the other, what the heck? Okay, sorry about that. I was just being reminded of the Team League draft. One of the other strengths of this line is strong anti-air armament. Now, some players may argue that anti-air is non-existent in World of Warships after the CV rework. Others, the opposite. So that is something that that you need to keep in mind. It's a support class. It's not a class you're going to go around and just demolish an enemy team by yourself. You can have those games, but generally speaking, it's not that kind of a line. Now, weaknesses. You'll note the third bullet point right there under ship features. No torpedoes. Well, it only has one, really, right? Every ship has one torpedo when you go and ram something. But beyond that, the light cruiser line has no torpedoes at all. These ships are all focused on the guns and the guns only. The nice thing about that is you don't have to worry about torpedoes. How many of you, raise your hand, have died because you tried to get torpedoes lined up? Happens to me all the time. So that comes in handy. Cthulhu says, please discuss how to handle the split when it comes to transferring commanders. Grind out Pensa and Dallas with the same guy, or put him on into one and the other and start him again in the Omaha. Gaelic, this is true. Atlanta and Flint has torpedoes, but we are focusing on the tech tree line, and the tech tree line plays this way. Premium ships will have different things, about them that differentiates them, right, from the tech tree, but we are focused solely on the tech tree line. Thank you for bringing up that differentiation. Cthulhu, I'll try to remember what you were talking about in a minute. Other weaknesses for the light cruiser line. I would say weak armor is definitely going to be a weakness for these ships. Generally speaking, it's pretty easy for battleships to slap them, especially if they're broadside. It's very difficult to angle properly to large caliber battleship shells, especially at the high tiers. So weak armor is definitely going to be a weakness. Mike, is there any other weaknesses we can think of before we continue?
I mean, maybe penetration. Like all the light cruisers have that some sort of problem that you don't penetrate battleships unless you address it in your build, I guess.
So for these ships, because they're the 152 millimeter guns typically, that means for HE, IFHE is a must if you want to pen, right? And that also means, I'm just gonna put question mark there, and it also means that you need to know where to fire with your AP. You will not do well if you're the kind of person that just takes AP and fires them straight at the side of a battleship, or even a heavy cruiser for that matter, most of the time. You need to know where to target.
Maybe shell ballistics too.
Floaty shells. Absolutely, especially at the higher tier, Seattle, Worcester looking at you. Cleveland too, even. So floaty shells is definitely a struggle. Yes, I would agree with you there. All right, well, I think that handles the strengths and the weaknesses of the line quite nicely. Let's talk about the high points of the line. What ships are the high points of the line? Obviously, we're just focusing on these bottom 5. Now, there's a super ship that apparently has been announced that's going to go into testing. We don't know anything about it. Some people wanted me to do some theory crafting on that. We could maybe, towards the end of the talk, look into that. Chat, remind me on that. Some people were also curious about the unique upgrade. We can talk about that too. So, high points on this line. Ships that I think are fantastic ships that are great to play. And the high water mark, absolutely the Helena at tier 7. She's got so many guns. She's just bristling in guns. She's got 5 turrets, and these are triple barrel turrets. It's 15 guns broadside that she can fire. It's fantastic. She's a hero in operations. She's great in random battles. I absolutely love Helena. Cleveland is another high point in my opinion on this line. She used to be tier 6 in the original straight down, and Cleveland once upon a time had a citadel that was a thing of legends. You could never really find it. But that's changed a bit, and now Cleveland was moved up to tier 8. She's been given radar. She's been given some other tools. She is still a fantastic ship. Her concealment is almost at a lower range. than the radar, which means she can almost stealth radar things. If she is detected, the player can pop the radar, and typically, especially if it's a destroyer coming straight at him, that destroyer gets spotted. So Cleveland, I think, is a really good pick at this line. And the final high point, I have to say, is the Worcester. It's not Worcester. It's not Worcestershire. Worcester is the way that I've been told is how you pronounce it. And the Worcester at tier 10 is a very fun ship. She plays very differently from the Seattle before. It's almost the same kind of gap as going from the British tier 9 heavy cruiser. I'm trying to remember the name of it, the Drake, to the Goliath. You kind of have an order of magnitude that's higher than a one tier gap. The Seattle to me feels a lot like it's a tier 8.3, and the Worcester feels like it's a tier 10. So Worcester's a fantastic ship. Scheist says Worcester equals pain in the buttocks. Can be. Absolutely. Absolutely. She's got a high rate of fire, pretty good accuracy with the guns. She's got all the consumables that you can play with. And the biggest thing about Worcester that makes her so fun, go back to that weak armor. I'll show you guys the armor scheme of this cruiser here. The thing that makes this ship kind of negate the weak armor layout, you can see here, armor belt only 127 millimeter, right? So a lot of people might say that's very weak, 51 millimeter, right? Citadel plating armor only 25 millimeter, huh? Here's the thing. Blue Falcon with the 4002 bits. Well, thank you, Blue Falcon, for that. The big thing about this is, as we cut through here, we got a bit war going on. As we go through and look at the ship, you see how narrow the ship is? What that does is, a lot of players, especially at the high tiers and close range, can sail broadside like this. And even though the Citadel is exposed, the shells will go right through both sides of the armor plating and explode outside. You will over-penetrate the Citadel. You'll do damage, but you just won't do enough. So that's one of the things that makes this thing really special, that a lot of people really enjoy. Well, Cthulhu is bringing up a good point. Yes, you can't do this against the Minotaur. The Minotaur's different. You're going to go broadside to a battleship, something with the big guns that go splash right through. But against a light cruiser, you absolutely need to be able to maintain your angle. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I think the Worcester is really the high point. And what's exciting about that is, unlike the Japanese heavy cruiser line I talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, or whatever, the tier 10 is actually the high point, which is really exciting. Scheist doing another 1,000 bits. Thank you, Scheist. I'm gonna try to maintain my composure and get through the line review as you guys are doing this. I'm gonna do my best. Now. Low points of the line. Low points of the line. Let me go back to, actually I can just pop it up right here. Low tiers of the line. Very easy to look at. We're going to take away the 8, we're going to take away the 7, and we're going to take away the 10. What does that leave us with? Oh, we can also flag tech tree only. Where is that? This one? There we go. We have the Dallas, ladies and gentlemen. Tier 6. The Dallas is a very sad excuse of a replacement for what we had before, which was the Cleveland as she played out. Give me 1 sec. Let me just double check something here, y'all. Lumia HUD. And make sure. Yes, good. Okay. Excelente. All right, Diz with the resub. Thank you very much, Diz, for a resub. Appreciate that. Falcon, you love the Dallas and you love it at tier 6. I gotta say, against tier 8s, she really struggles. Her armor layout, her armor scheme is just weak sauce. 89 millimeter, and that's it. And it's a very small box. You've got this plating around it. We can drop the plating. Also, her rate of fire is really kind of meh. So she's okay. She's fine in operations. I wouldn't want to play her in ranked at tier 6. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to play her in clan battles at tier 6. If there's a tier 6 COTS, you will not see this ship. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Perfect. There's better options. Even tech tree wise, there's better options. We are in a hype train. Thank you guys for doing so. You all know what happens at, oh my God, we're already at level 4? Jesus. Okay, so Dallas is absolutely a low point on the line. Now we talked about the 7 as a high point. We talked about the 8 as a high point. What does that leave us with? That leaves us with the 9. Do I even have the 9? Do I Wait a minute. Do I not have it bought? Do I hate it that much? Oh, I know. I know what. It's not eleated because I didn't buy the range upgrade for it. Remember, I reground all the lines and it's considered an elite ship once you have ground out all the equipment for it. So, see, Armored Prayer, that's the problem. Seattle is medium, but the problem is in a line like this, when you've got greatness that is the Worcester and greatness that's the Cleveland, Seattle feels like a major letdown when you go to tier 9. The biggest problem with the Seattle is, let's go ahead and put this back into play. Look how much wider the ship is. Because it's wider, it traps more shells, and shells go boom inside Citadel, and Seattle disappears. In addition to that, Seattle's turret layout is a little wonky. You have to show a good amount of side to get your rear turret to face out and fire. Enough side basically to get yourself reliably citadeled by battleships. So if you're trying to target shots on something and you're in the open water, you gotta be really good at dodging. And Scheist is really good at cheering. Thank you, Scheist. So spend the money. It's not like you don't have it.
Listen to him.
Anyway, the other thing too about the Seattle is that the reload to me just isn't there. It's okay, but at tier 9, it's not enough. Tier 8, the Cleveland, tier for tier, it's okay. Tier 9, it's just, yeah, it's front or rear guns only. That's the big problem with the Seattle, in my opinion. That's the big problem with the Seattle. I don't want to just use front only or rear only. If I want to do that, I'm going to play, I don't know, say the Soviet cruiser line. So that's the problem that I have with her. She's the, as Duckman said, it's the exact same kind of problem that you have with the heavy cruiser line, US and heavy cruiser line, where you're kind of encouraged to sit bow in. So I'm just gonna put that out there like that. All right. Since we're so close to getting to 5, I just want to pause for just 1 minute. Thank you all for your patience as we had to take a slight break. We got a little derailed because of a hype train. Think about how that sounds. But now we're back to continue and hopefully finish our discussion of the light cruisers. We've got our ride-along person who's been very patiently waiting for when we're going to get to him. So let's get into that. We talked about the high points, the low points. I said Seattle, I think is probably a low point. I know some people like her, some people don't. Same thing with Dallas. But again, when you compare them to Helena, Cleveland, and Worcester, it's just, nah. So let's talk about some suggested builds. And a lot of people, I got some feedback. Some people were not happy when I was talking about ship builds and only focusing on the tier 10. So I'm going to go ahead and let's take a look at a Cleveland build. And we'll talk about it and talk about the differences between the other ones and stuff. Okay? So for... Yes?
Before you go in that, I think you have to mention one thing right before that.
Okay.
That is the default caliber pen of the guns depending on tier, which makes some builds more viable for certain tiers than for others.
So there's a big drop off between HE penetration. If you hover over here for the Cleveland, you can see HE penetration is 37 millimeter. Now that is with IFHE. So let me just go ahead and put him in reserve for right now, so you can see what the base penetration is. That's 30 millimeter. Now, I had put in the document on the notepad IFHE with the question mark. At tier 8 and higher, IFHE is required if you wish to penetrate 32 millimeters of armor. Now that's really important because if you're shooting at battleships, then you need to be able to penetrate the bow and stern sections of a lot more ships than, that have 32 millimeter armor. And of course, there's the British and the French battleships that have 32 millimeter all around. So that 32 millimeter threshold is huge, especially at tier 8, tier 9, and tier 10. It's also important-ish at tier 7, but if we go to tier 7, where did it go? Am I blind? I must be blind. I don't have the Helena up here.
Dallas
one?
has the same
There.
pen if you just want to demonstrate the pen.
Yeah, that's okay. So I found it. If we go down to tier 7, you'll note that the HE penetration for the tier 7 is 25 millimeter. So the problem with that is you're not penetrating 25. Now watch what happens if I go into commander skill here. I don't care what I'm picking. I'm just trying to get to IFHE. So if I go to IFHE, notice that we only penetrate 31 millimeters of armor. This is huge for the Helena, especially because Helena can see tier 9 ships, right, in random battles. Less important, I would say, for the Dallas because her max is 8. Still important, but not as much. So that's a big difference, 25 to 31. 25 to 31 means you're still not penetrating the 32 millimeter armor threshold. You are penetrating battleships at 27 millimeter armor, and you're penetrating heavy cruisers. But that's about it. So when you're building a captain, and I was going to talk about this here, but Grunty brought it up now. When you're building a captain, IFHE, the question of IFHE, it depends heavily on what tier you're using, and I guess you could say your target as well.
The main factor is like, how many ships do you face that you can penetrate if you take it? And how many ships will you not be able to penetrate if you don't take it?
Right.
And
Exactly.
it's very, very tier dependent.
And
And you'll find endless discussions whether it's worth it for certain tiers or not.
Yep.
And if you
It
ask
all
3
comes-
people, you get 4 opinions.
It all comes down to what do you want your HE shells to do. If you want them to bite into stuff, then you're going to want IFHE at tier 8, 9, possibly 10. If you just want to set fires, you don't want IFHE, because remember, IFHE also reduces your fire chance by half. So you keep that in mind as well. Okay. So I guess we can look at Helena then when we talk about tier 7 and the tier 6. Typically, you're going to go for main armaments mod 1. You're typically going to go for engine room to keep your engines alive. Engines are very important in light cruisers, and it's very common to lose engines in those light cruisers because of that low armor scheme. Okay, Wildwind 101, thank you for the follow. Welcome on in. Now, the third here, I was playing this, I think, in operations or co-op. Generally speaking, you're going to want to run aiming systems, okay? Aiming systems to get your guns more accurate, very handy in a role for shooting destroyers, or if you come up close and personal with an enemy cruiser that goes broadside to you, you can switch to AP and slap them around. So this is very handy as well. I wouldn't recommend secondary battery unless, like I said, you're screwing around in co-op. Main battery mod 2 is a possibility if you really don't like turrets, if you really don't like fighting your turrets while you turn. If you find that you outturn your turrets, in other words, at maximum turn, your turrets can't follow, you may wish to consider main battery mod 2 or grease the gears or both, depending. Grease the gears is a commander skill at one point, by the way. Hey, guns modification.
These light cruisers is pretty good though, right? I don't think you need that.
Right, that's what I'm saying, if. And that's something for each player to figure out, and that's just a general comment anyways for anybody who plays any ship if they run into that situation. AA Guns Modification 1, it's probably not that helpful either. This helps your AA sector prep time by 20%. What that means is you can use that key to do some instant damage and then to ramp up your anti-air more rapidly. In a game right now, with one carrier, this will only be effective maybe once before that carrier realizes you've got very strong anti-air and don't come after you again. Or if that carrier keeps coming after you again, this won't matter either because you're still going to be using it and killing his planes anyways. So this isn't that useful unless maybe you division with a carrier player all the time.
Even
And then
Murphy.
right now, and then your last one here is I like to do propulsion because I like to stop and go a lot. If you are the person that keeps going and never stops, steering gears is probably a better choice. My general rule of thumb is you want under 10 seconds of rudder shift time for a cruiser. So we have that. So that's why for the Helena, I have propulsion modification. Airstrike, if you really hate subs, okay, but it's not going to do enough to really cause. You're not going to kill a sub that much faster, in my opinion. And damage control, burning and flooding isn't really your problem. What is this line when it comes to ranked? Well, we can talk about that when we get to playstyles and stuff. Sure. Commander build for tier 7 and below. We know IFHE is not going to work well. I always like to do last stand. If I lose engines, I want to still be able to have some water flowing through the rudder to shift and make turns and stuff like that. As a light cruiser player, I absolutely want to know how effed I'm about to become. The higher this number, the higher the puckering you need to do when you're a sphincter because you're about to die. So this comes in very handy. It's just so important information. Also, if you're hunting down destroyers, this tells you when you need to turn or not, because your priority target will go from a number down a number and then back up to that original number. So it might go 2 to 1 to 2. If 2 people are targeting you and all of a sudden one person's targeting you, that's because one of those 2 ships that was targeting you is a destroyer or a cruiser or something else that switched to torpedoes. Torpedoes do not count in priority target. So if it goes 2, 1, 2, that means torpedoes are coming your way, most likely. And that person that fired those torpedoes most likely fired them along the white line of your direction of travel. So when this happens, you know to immediately change things like your course and like your speed. Cthulhu, that's a good point. Yes, you can take her out in a co-op and play around with the ship and get a feel for it too. Absolutely. So priority target, I think, is a very important skill to have. Now, 7 and below, you'll note that Superintendent, there's no heal. So at 7 and below, it's really not that helpful. Cosmic, perfect timing, asking about a Boise. Now, Boise is a premium ship, and we're focusing on the tech tree here. But one of the things that makes it difficult to slap a tech tree commander like a Helena onto the Boise is that Boise does have a heal. It actually has a super heal. Superintendent is very helpful on a Boise. But on a Helena with no heal, Superintendent is less helpful. It's still helpful in that you get an extra charge of defensive anti-air, which honestly isn't that big of a deal. You get an extra charge of a summoned fighter, also not that big of a deal. You get an extra charge of hydro. Frankly, at the end of their game, it's probably still not that big of a deal. So for me, at a ship that doesn't have a heal, I'm going to go survivability expert. And then I'm going to go concealment. Okay? Then that's my core 10 points. That's the first 10 points I'm going to invest. After that's done, now I'm going to go to Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush is so important in ships like these because as you take damage, your guns that have high rate of fire become even more threatening and deadly. So that comes in very handy. If your Helena commander will one day become your Worcester commander, Superintendent does help. That's correct. I'm talking in this case about somebody that's specific to the Helena, but you're absolutely right. If you're going to promote above and move that captain up the tree, then absolutely, once you get to Seattle, Superintendent becomes more useful because Seattle's got a heal. It's probably not going to help you survive as much because I'm not a fan of Seattle, but it can actually come in handy. But again, focusing on a Helena specific build right now. Once we get done with this, this is a 19-point captain. We'll go all the way up to 21. Top grade gunner is always a good choice. If something's within your vision and whatever, then you have a reload to your main battery. That's handy. Another skill that's very handy is radio location. Very handy if you're going to hunt down subs or destroyers towards the end game. Radio location, very, very useful. So I would probably go for radio location first between these two, and I might round out the build with top grade gunner. Alternately, You could take some other skills, for example. Consumables enhancements just helps your hydro, so that's not as useful. Consumable specialist, again, hydro is the only thing you care about, so it's probably not that useful here. You could spec into focus fire training for more anti-air fun, but the problem with doing that is, frankly, you're not going to get that much out of it. Go back to what I said about the carrier player before. A good carrier player is going to avoid you like the plague anyways. Grease the Gears is helpful, but if you do that, you're not taking top grade gunner anymore, and you're left picking another skill here at the 3-pointer. You could then maybe take superintendent again with the idea of moving up the line. You could go for heavy HE and sap as well. This will have a negative impact to your concealment. You're detected from farther away. But if you're hiding behind an island or you've got a friend that's going to smoke you all the time, this really doesn't matter so much. So heavy HE, if I'm playing operations and co-op and whatnot, this is probably what I would take, frankly, and then go with the gun with the grease the gears. In ranked, honestly, I might take this as well. I want to do as much damage with my HE as possible, and I want to turn my turrets as quickly as possible for when destroyers pop up, and I want to know where those destroyers and subs are using radiolocation. So this might be a good build for ranked as well, frankly. Now let's take a look at a ship like. Well, we can just go to the Worcester, I suppose. Let's look at the top end of the line and discuss some of the things that are a little bit different about the Worcester compared to the rest. For one, you get with the Cleveland the ability to use radar. Side note: please don't pick spotting aircraft or fighter. Okay, your team will just look at you and be like, "Come on, really?" Surveillance radar is definitely the thing you want to go for here. You'll note that the detection of ships is 9 kilometer instead of 10, so it doesn't reach as far. But it does have good action time, especially if you pair that with the surveillance radar modification. Okay, so here's what I like to do on my Worcester. I have main armaments to keep the guns alive. I got surveillance radar to keep to spot destroyers towards the end game. I've got aiming systems because I'm spamming a lot of shells, and I absolutely want those shells to hit. This is very, very important, I might add, if you're playing the game at long range, the ship at long range, trying to shoot at battleships that are camping and cruisers that are camping. Propulsion, again, very important to check your maneuverability. 8.1 seconds, cool. Propulsion. The other ones we talked about before. Concealment, very handy here. You could make the argument for steering gears, but one of the things I like about the concealment module a lot of people don't recognize is the 5% debuff to dispersion of shells fired by enemies against me. That means that the shells are going to be less tight. That does mean the possibility of more random citadels, but it also means that generally speaking, I'm not going to take as much damage at long range from something like a bungo that can snipe. Still take a good amount of damage though. And then finally, I've got gun feeder here for range. Now, the main battery range is 19.4 kilometer with the range upgrade. A lot of people prefer to go for the reload. You drop your range down to 16.7 though. In this game, there are 2 ways to live in a light cruiser. One is your island waifu. Find an island, hide behind it, and lob shells over it. The other way is to play at open water. If you're going to play open water, the longer the range you have to a target, the more time you have to wiggle your booty and try to get out of range of shells that are being shot at you. So that's why, personally, I like to go gunfire control system here. But you can also make the argument for reload if you're playing more of a support role and closer up. This is better if you're going to division with people. This is better for like just solo playing. Now there is
one thing to mention here is like if you go with that range, at 19 kilometer range, your shelf life time is 18.5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So all that range, while it gives you safety, does nothing for you. You're not going to be able to hit shells at that range because the shelf life time is too long.
It really depends on you. I can hit stuff at that range just fine, and I've done that in my streams. But other people might not be able to. I would say this is a very, very tough skill to acquire, hitting things at max range that is maneuvering. This is fine if you're shooting, like I said earlier, stuff that's sitting still and just doing whatever.
Yeah, you'll be able to hit a Yamato, but will you be able to hit a Marseille?
I mean, it depends. Obviously,
You will
that's a much
probably. Most players, I'd argue, will not.
right. So again, that's a skill-dependent decision that people have to make the decision about. Now, the other option at tier 10 is the unique upgrade, which is enhanced countermeasures. This gives you one extra of each consumable, also helps your priority sector prep time, which isn't that big of a deal, but it does help with the prep time of all of your consumables. It decreases the reload time for these. This is fantastic if you want to play the ship as more of a utility role. We saw this a lot in COTS and other competitions where they will take a Wooster, they'll put it in a smoke snail, and then it'll use its radar, and its radar is available sooner and has an extra charge of it. Same thing with the hydroacoustic search. So if you want to play the ship as more of a utility ship, then that's an option as well. So Wooster does give you the flexibility I just mentioned of essentially 2 or even 3 different playstyles, and it really depends on how you want to play her. My captain build for my Wooster is as such. I've got Last Stand, I've got Priority Target, I've got Survivability Expert, and I've got Superintendent. Okay? Once again, the core build, going down and then grabbing Concealment Expert. I don't have Concealment Expert, and the reason I don't have Concealment Expert is because I wanted to play around with the build at max range and see if I could make it work. I was able to make it work, and if I'm taking essentially Lighthouse build, then I really don't care about Concealment. So that's why I went for heavy HE and Sap Shells, and then you've got Adrenaline Rush and Top Grade Gunner. I'm going to go to Change Commander for a second, and I'm just going to throw in Ashley. No. Do I have somebody else for the Wooster? I do. Here we go. This is the build. I'm going to put the build up that we did for Helena a minute ago. The core build here. And then we talked about radio location. Scheist, if you don't mind, if you can, just maybe mute your mic if you don't have anything to add to the discussion. I just don't want that bleeding through every now and then. We have Adrenaline Rush, and here's where we talked about, thank you, Scheist, about the ability to use IFHE. IFHE gives you, with these 152s, you can now penetrate over 32 millimeters of armor. Note that that makes you less effective at starting fires and less effective at shooting destroyers and things that you would already penetrate anyways without IFHE. So this is really a kind of a situational skill, which is why I'm not running it on my own Wooster. But you could do that here. Radiolocation, I think, is a very important skill to have on a Wooster, so I would probably run radiolocation. And then you've got a few choices. If you want to go max utility, then you obviously want to buff the duration of radar, and you want to buff the reload of radar and stuff like that. You can absolutely do that. And now we're at 20 points, and we need one more point. You can maybe go for turret traverse. Gunfeed. The thing about gunfeeder is it's got such high rate of fire anyways. That's not as useful. Obviously, there's no torpedoes. And if you've got priority target, incoming fire alert's not going to help you that much. It's just going to spam the screen with more like, watch out. So I might go grease the gears. Alternately, you could drop
Superintendent.
I'm sorry?
I would not drop Superintendent.
Oh, I didn't notice I had not taken it. So Superintendent's another option too. Here's the caveat. You do this, now you have got to decide do you want radiolocation or not, because you don't have room for consumable stuff. I would probably go here and call it a day. This would be a good like sub-hunt ranked build, like if you want to like be in the thick of things and stuff like that. This wouldn't be a bad choice as well. So those are some.
Always drop the survivability expert on the tier 10.
I mean, you could, but to me, survivability is king when I play the game. As soon as you're dead, you can't impact the battle anymore. So I want to survive as long as possible. So to me, I think survivability expert is, I would even say, more important than adrenaline rush. So if I'm dropping one of these 3, I'm going to drop adrenaline rush first probably. But again, everybody's a little bit different, and that's one of the cool things about this game. There's different ways to play it. So there you have it. Chat, any other questions about captain builds or how you would build a ship or something like that? Cthulhu says your build with 14 points. Let's take a look at his build. You've got priority target, last stand, survivability expert, right? Concealment, radiolocation, for co-op with a side order of what do I have to take to PvP one day. Yeah, this is a fine start. Oh, superintendent instead of SE. Well, in co-op especially, yeah, survivability expert's less important. Superintendent, you could even make the argument it's not as important in co-op. But if you're thinking about PvP going into randoms, hey, I get it. So you're right on. You're well on the start of what I was just talking about. Cool. All right. So that's your suggested builds. Play styles. So I mentioned before there's two play styles. There's the island waifu style of play, and then there's the long range open water play style. You have to decide which of those two you want to play at. There's also, I'm going to add one more, and that's going to be the Blitz gameplay. Blitz gameplay is where you division up or find a destroyer buddy with you. You convince them to pop a smoke, and they smoke you into a cap. Now, this is more for the tier 8 and up because of the fact that they have radar capabilities. So for Cleveland and up, Blitz is a fun one, and especially useful in ranked battles. You convince a destroyer to smoke you towards the cap. As they head towards the cap, they spot something. That destroyer goes dark, turns and runs. You pop your radar, which we call the I win button. You see where it is, and then you obliterate that destroyer because you're at close range to it. So if you're doing ranked, I would highly recommend a Blitz playstyle. If you're playing, if you're trying to farm things like potential damage with your guns, long range open water is probably a good choice. Island waifu is really good if you want to park in a spot and really hold an area. Co-op brings a style of closing in and using firepower to hose enemy destroyers into a hail of fire, but you must be careful against anything with torpedoes or Des Moines class cruisers. Yes. However, of course, you do have hydroacoustic search, which comes in handy against torpedo armed. But Des Moines, yeah, other cruisers are problematic when you charge in like that. So there's your playstyles. Did I miss anything playstyle-wise?
No, I just don't like the long range open water.
That's fine. That's your playstyle. You don't like it, then you don't play it.
I think other ships do this better, especially the new Pan American line. I think if that is what you want to play, you should probably look at a different line.
The Pan American line that
USN
fires
light
AP
cruisers.
only?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you'll overpen super, but you're never going to start fires.
So you're way more durable though.
I guess. All right, so y'all, I'm gonna take I'm gonna go into a game now. We'll do a random battle, and if anybody would like to join, I'll grab up. We'll start up a div. We can have 2 people in. Chat. Which now Shice unmutes and is here again. Which to take in? I'm gonna ask chat. You all tell me. Which ship do you want me to play? We can, I've got 5 choices, and that's very convenient because there are 5 different tiers. So we've got the tier 6, the Dallas, the tier 7, the Helena, the tier 8, the Cleveland, the tier 9, the Seattle, or the tier 10, Worcester. I'm going to give you all 1 minute to vote because I really don't care. I usually try to highlight the lower points of the line and try to showcase the struggles with it. But by all means, y'all are putting it in the chat. There should be a vote option now. So go into the vote option there. It should pop up. You've got less than a minute to vote. And then we'll see where we go from there. So far, Tier 7 has the lead. Now we have a 3-way tie. Oh, there we go. All right.
How's it going?
Fine, Nate. Now, it's interesting you guys are choosing the 10 because one of the comments I got when I did the line review is stop showing so much love to the tier 10 and instead show love to the other tiers. Which isn't a bad point. But I think with the Worcester, we can try to highlight some of the other playstyles. I'll try to show you guys more of the Island Waifu playstyle as opposed to the open water playstyle that I've been playing. Because that's going to be a little bit different. Falcon! Dude, Falcon with the cheer again. Thank you, Falcon. Now it's spinning and not counting your vote. Well, there were 7 votes for the tier 10 and 1 vote for 7, 8, and 9 respectively. So,
I guess 6 of those votes came from Cobra.
and well, you have the ability, of course, to have multiple votes because that's what we always do. Chicago style voting over here, y'all. So anyway, Falcon, thank you again, and let's take a look. So I'm gonna do a more standard kind of setup here, trying to support the team. We're gonna go with I still want the gun range, but I'm gonna play closer. Everything else is fine here. We're gonna build up this captain. I'm just to show you guys that you can do this. I'm gonna run a 10-pointer, also because I'm cheap. Do I want to go superintendent first over survivability? I think I do because I want the extra consumables, and we'll do concealment. So this is kind of like just your standard. And guys, everybody listening, please do not take a tier 10 into battle with under 10 points. 10-point commanders are relatively easy to come by, and you can build them up pretty quick if you need to. YouTube, say 100% tier 9. YouTube wins. How's it going, Elastic, over there? Thank you very much for tuning in. And you can see now your comments are showing up on the screen too. So
You
hopefully
guys are
that will
just
help me.
trolling.
That will hopefully help me with seeing what you guys are saying more frequently, be more responsive to you guys. So if anybody wants to join for a tier 10 game, send me a message. Go Kobe, and do a 3-pointer. 10-point Ashley Violets are 3,000 community tokens in the armory. Anything under 10 points, do it in co-op. You can get away with it there. Absolutely. I got Nate and I got Scheist. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah! It's good to play with you, Nate. I haven't played with you in a while.
It's been a while. I played it a little bit earlier before you got on,
Okay.
and the teams were. Ugh,
Hey, it's World of Warships. It's a
I
weekend.
know.
Elastic says, hi, everybody. And see, now, Elastic, your comment matters. Everybody, even on Twitch, saw your comment. Is that cool or what? Scheist is forcing a super ship battle. Thank you so much.
That's,
He just
I was
wants you
like,
to have fun.
No, he
Have a
wants me to
civic
play the
spirit.
long-range fire spamming build. Ugh,
do
okay.
you want to do 2 woosters?
I mean, you play whatever you want, Nate. It's fine. You promise yourself never to show your account to me. Probably gets a heart attack by your choice of commanders. I mean, Iremios, when we do your replay
switch.
coverage and we talk about that stuff, we've come into that a bit. Yes, YouTube can see your chat as well, Duckman. So I've got my flags all built up for it. I think these are the flags I want. Yeah. Okay, we're good. Now the exterior, I'm just going to mention this for those of you guys wondering about this exterior, saying, wait a minute, I don't have this option. These were special camouflages. When the cruiser line was released, the Worcester had 2 choices. They made a really fun event out of this, and I should probably give you a little history lesson. The USN light cruisers was the first time Wargaming created an event based around the release of a new line of ships. And that included the loot crates that you could get and stuff like that. This is what started it all to where we are right now with the early access and stuff like that. I wish they did more events like these too, Diz, because this was a lot of fun when they did this event. But Wargaming...
Sorry.
What's the Eagles versus
Do you have the
Sharks
other
event,
camo?
right?
Wargaming realized that this was a very good opportunity to monetize the player base further, and they've continued all the way up to the point today. So if you don't like the way things are in this game, well, congratulations. It started here. It started with the Worcester. Do I have the Eagles camo? I think I do. Yeah.
So if you don't, I have it on mine.
Good. I'm gonna go back to the
is
Sharks.
better.
I'm gonna go back
is
to the
better than
Sharks.
Eagles.
This was
There
the
you go.
Eagles. So in this event, you had to choose which of these sides you want to play. You want to play Team Shark or Team Eagle, and then you got the permo camo at
Yes.
the end. I went Team Shark. Shark is much better.
You
I
could
agree.
switch the team, I think.
I wasn't
I don't
playing
recall.
when they had that event, but I got mine out of the district voice container.
There you go. Yeah, I don't think you could switch the team. I think once you picked, you were stuck on it until the end of the event, and it was a long event, so there was no waiting to see what team's leading.
I'm pretty sure though I have like the signal flags for both.
That was when
You
I was sitting on
probably
break.
got them later from something else.
No, because
Um,
it's on my EU account and I played it. I remember you could buy the things for tokens, but I didn't know if the tokens were universal. If you could just collect tokens with one team and buy the flag for the other team as well with the tokens. That might have been possible.
Aw, Shice, you don't want to force a super ship game?
Nah, bro, I got you. Let's go.
All right, let's go. One shell getting 2 fire ribbons.
Alright, watch us get ocean.
So the way HE shells work is that there is a cube blast radius. Now it is, I would say, probably a possibility that you could start 2 fires with one shell if it landed right between both fire position points and you rolled high enough with the RNG to start a fire on both sides. Oh look, there's a carrier here. So that's going to be good for my anti-air, and we're also top tier now, so that's neat.
I shall be hugging you.
All right. There was a comment before about talking about where do you want to go in these kinds of cruisers. And like I said, you want to find islands that you can hide behind. Islands that you can hide behind are very, very useful in the Worcester. Now, I'm on this side of the map, so I'm going to stay on my flank. Hashtag DATF.
Autopilot mode enabled.
Looky, Zath, wearing your gifted camo. Okay, I'll check in a sec. In the B cap area, this island here is okay, but it's such a small island. The north side has the advantage here. You could park yourself down here on this island. C cap, this is a very powerful island for the Worcester. Same thing up here to the north. And of course, on the sides of these islands here on the C cap are good. If you're playing a range build Worcester, you could park behind this island as well. These islands up here are possibilities, but they take you really far out of the battle. All right, let's take a look at the... Oh, look at that pretty camo. So, take a look at the turrets, by the way. They rotate pretty quick, but these are not 180-degree turrets. So you also have to keep that in mind when it comes to positioning and what you're doing. The island here, anything that's a high peak, you want to be careful with too, because you want to hide behind an island, but you also want your shells to be able to clear the island. So this spot here is a very good spot for me to get behind. Hey, Master Arn. And not only a pretty face on the World Wide Web, I also know a lot about the game. Thank you. Cheap on the hot tub streams, though. Sorry. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, Duckman. All right, so I want to get in position to spam behind the island here, but I also don't want to be spotted.
Oh no.
Stuff over there. So I'm going to need to move a little bit. Oh, we've got Disquarius in the Naki mob with us. Huh. And he says one of his buddies disconnected. Alright, so I'm about to take position. Now the other problem too is the Malta. The Malta can absolutely wreck me. So I need to be very cautious about when I open up. I'm going to open up now in the Marseille. He's backing up. My shells can clear. And then, of course, he disappears. So let's switch over to the Kremlin. And then the Kremlin disappears. I love it. I'm detected. I got one person targeting.
Malta's almost dead if you got a
Oh,
shot
thank
on
you.
him.
I almost forgot to do that before. Last time. Notepad. Go away. Now, I've got 3 targeting me, so this is the time I need to go dark. This is also the time that I need to move closer to the island here. And again, island waifu. Look at all the shells coming in. I'm at the island. Oh, nice kill on the Malta. Now I can't demonstrate the anti-air as well. I am detected. It's possible that the Kremlin sees me. At this point, though, I don't think so. Something else is spotting me. Probably from over here. Keep an eye on that. Stay frosty over there. Alright, I might as well use my defensive anti-air, because the Malta's planes are... That's all that's left. Got stuck on the underwater feature. But you can see now, I'm able to back up. Oh, there goes Scheist.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, that would be the Holland. I called that there was a destroyer spotting me on the side, but...
He did. It was just too late.
Yeah. It's all right.
I was committed.
You were. So that guy is going to spot, and hopefully the Nakimov is going to be looking over here.
Gun crews are on
Here comes a Ministia.
Yep, I see him. If he radar, or he smokes, I can radar. I got 2 targeting me. Continuing to move around. Moving around is very important here. Go ahead and pop the Hydro. This is where radio location would be handy, correct. I'm going to wait a little bit.
He's coming
Gonna-
around the island.
Yep, I'm going to radar now to ensure the Venezia cannot smoke. Look, team play. Did you guys see chat? What the heck happened to that to the red CV? Someone just said they sent 5 gifted subs in my chat. All right, AP over for the Venezia. Close range. And we got 2 Citadels on him. And the Vermont's gonna die because he wasn't prepped for the charge. Radar is still going. Cleaning out your bit drawer. There you go. Oh, look at that Falcon. You're at 99999. That's funny. Okay, so now I've moved myself up to a somewhat powerful spot. But you can see the Marsilli is now hydroing me. Why you bully me indeed? Hey, you bullied yourself because you charged in and just died. But you got the carrier pretty good, so that helps, I suppose. I got lucky the Marseille had HE in the barrels. I want to see if I can get him to charge me. I think he's going to. I'm going to switch to AP. He's stopping. I got 3
Just out
people
there
targeting.
wrecking people.
I got 4 people targeting me right now. Perfect. There we go. All right. Now this is my chance to leave and run. This is a part that you have to be able to understand too when it comes to these kinds of ships, is knowing when it's time to run away. It is time to run away. Thunder is leaving. Kurfürst is charging. He's got hydro capabilities. So we're getting the heck out of here. All right, that's because you gave me 1 on the other channel, so you could be lead cheerer, right, on the other channel. That's right. Since I'm detected by the Hydro, I might as well just shoot my guns. And I'm wiggling. I'm wiggling a lot because I just don't have much else available to get out of here. The Holland, by the way, is going into the A-cap. Kurfürst really wants me dead. If I keep going this way, the Montana might show up. There's the Holland. Perfect.
Concentrate fire on the designated target. All stations reporting the position of a strategic target.
Now, I was targeted by 3 for a second there, so I'm changing my course and speed. Over Penn City. Go ahead and pop. Oh, Holland is back up again. Oh well. Come on, turn. These are fast torpedoes from the Holland. I made it. Let's get the heel going. I'm probably too far away for the Kurfürst to overpen me, so I can't do the sail broadside thing. So I'm just gonna have to keep wiggling here. It's what we call the cruiser wiggle. I say that as I turn broadside to the Kurfürst. Scheist with some more bits. Thank you, Scheist. You're cleaning yours out too, huh? Kurfürst is secondary build, as you would expect him to be. You targeting
That's
from
a
super
cool
long
first
range?
maneuver.
What, charge in and die with secondaries blazing?
No, turning broadside to get the rear guns off just to die for it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm okay with this.
He's dead.
Not yet, he isn't. Now you can say he's dead. Now this is huge for me because it gives me the chance to go dark, but I have 10 seconds. I have 10 seconds, 7 now. So I'm going to hold DCP towards the end, and then I'm going to go ahead and go dark. Now, the big thing with the ship like this too is you have to know when to open up with your guns and when to stay dark. This is the time to stay dark. That being said, it's we're a minute away from winning, so I should win harder, right, y'all? Let's win harder.
No.
Normally, I would stay dark here, but I'm going to win harder.
Okay.
But I'm not even in the game trying to lose it for me. You can stay dark.
Heals available. Let's get the heal back up again as soon as possible. Corey Basler, you're in this match on the enemy team? Nice. Where are you on the enemy team? I'll send you a compliment. Let's see if this Montana can smack me while sailing broadside. Come on, do it. Sit me, baby.
Can't.
That was fun.
Too late.
I don't think they liked me.
No, you did a really nice job of staying behind. You were kind of like that long range fire support while I was kind of deeper into the islands there. So that worked out really well. That worked out really well. Hey, Gary. Yes, Triple C Div carried. And then you and I are in the middle. And, you know, Shice did some stuff.
Wow.
Just did some-
Yeah, that kind of happened. You win.
That was fun.
It wasn't
Corey,
good,
I
but
found
he
you.
did something.
Now, he's in an
Alright.
Incheon, which is a test ship, so we're not going to comment about the characteristics of that ship, of course. Home from work and ready to sit and
Incheon.
chat.
Isn't that Panasian? Is that the new Panasian cruiser?
Yeah.
Okay. You can
Um,
find information on the dev blog chat.
That's right. There's dev block stuff on it. We're not going to worry about that. But anyway, pretty good credit earnings. High spamming ships like this usually do pretty good when it comes to earning messages. Squarius, hey, let me get you a compliment too. You and Fuzzballs, and I don't know your div mate, but I'm going to compliment him as well. You all did really well. Thank you for the carry. We're currently highlighting the USN light cruiser line, so this actually worked out well. So that's a sample game showing. I guess I kind of showed off two play styles, right? One was trying to play at range and trying to open up that range, and the other was playing up on islands and stuff. And you saw how islands are fun, except when something can spot you down the side, then they're not fun anymore. And that's kind of where the problem came into play.
That supportive island style is so much better if you division with a destroyer.
Yeah, because then you can send the destroyer off that way. Or Squarius, I think Squarius was the carrier in that game. You know, I pinged over there like, hey, something's over there. He didn't go over there, but he could have. And as a carrier, he could have gone and spotted him. But it's a Holland. I wouldn't have wanted to spot him anyway. So,
Yeah, like just if you can guarantee that something is spotting for you and you have something close to support, actually, it becomes better.
and that Holland was quite frankly pretty smart, right? That Holland played around my radar. He knew not to get within that radar range, and he absolutely wrecked Scheist. He smacked the Vermont. He tried to get into the A cap. He was doing work as a Holland, making it difficult for me to do my job as an anti-destroyer. We highlighted the importance of radiolocation there. So I think there's a lot that you can kind of glean from that sample battle. So let's go into concluding thoughts. In my opinion, what?
I'd like to say I body blocked Torp so you didn't die.
Yeah. I like to say that too.
Yeah, but a top belt?
Well, thank you, Scheist. I appreciate your sacrifice.
You use the ship as a human shield.
Well, see, I often talk about how teammates are a good use of hydroacoustic search. You don't need hydro, your teammates are hydro. And that was a great example of that. Scheist, you were my hydro, thank you.
Yeah.
Why people don't show like block in games? They used to have the red line or something. I don't know what that question means. Yeah, meat shield, exactly. So,
You mean
concluding
blacklisted
thoughts.
users or what?
I don't know. Concluding thoughts. I like this line. I think it's a very fun line. It's not an easy line to master. So I would say this has a high skill ceiling, but I would say it also has a high skill floor because starting off in this ship, it's too easy for you to take a bunch of hits and die. And then get frustrated and not understand why you died and all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. This is not a good line for starting players. I wouldn't think so, at least.
I like the Worcester better than the Des Moines. I just seem to play it better than the Des Moines. I guess that's why I like it better.
Which is funny because the way you were playing Worcester that last game, like
Yeah.
you would have been better off in a Des Moines. You know, you're just bow on next to the island there. It is what it is. So I would say this is a good line for ranked using the Blitz playstyle I was talking about earlier. Obviously, it's good for co-op. It's going to be great for asymmetric. The only areas I would say it's weak is going to be for brawls, simply because with so few people, you're almost guaranteed a battleship or two on the enemy team, and you're using up a slot that could be better suited towards something else. So there's that. Otherwise, she's fantastic. She's fantastic for ranked. She's fantastic for ops, for asymmetric, and for random. She's okay. It's a good.
I
So
think
that's where
I
I'd put
played
it.
against the Rooster and Bras. Didn't end well for them.
That's the point I'm making. Is it's just
It was
Worcester
horrible.
Worcester takes advantage of people who are distracted and shooting other targets. When you're playing in a 3 versus 3 format or whatever for brawls, the enemy can just focus you down and kill you before you can really do much with whatever you've got going on for you. So,
Right.
all right, well, I think that'll cover the line review, huh? What do you guys think? Excellent,
Yeah.
cool. Cool. Only took us 2.5 hours, but we did it. We did it, chat. We did it. So this is going to go out to YouTube later. And of course, YouTube, please feel free to put the comments in when you watch this. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if there's anything that we missed, please, by all means, share that. And we need to have a fun word that people could put into chat in order to kind of highlight that they got this far in the line and show off their dedication to watching my videos. And thank you for doing that. So what's a word we can use?
Uwu.
I think in memory of all the people who was watching this live on Twitch, the word should be squirrel.
Squirrel.
See, I was gonna go with meat shield. I thought meat
Yeah,
shield.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Meat shield.
All right, meat shield. So YouTube, if you got to this point, please use the word meat shield. Put that in chat, and very much appreciate y'all sitting through this when it's live on Twitch and again later in YouTube. Hopefully I helped you. If you have a different line of ships that you would like me to review next, please put the comments in. I do have a section in YouTube, my community section there, where I'll put down questions. What line do you want next? Hopefully by next weekend we won't have to do this again. We'll have the replay render tool fixed and we can get back to our normal replays. Actually, next weekend we also have the Team League tournament. So that's going to be interesting. Justin, no, put that in when it gets released on YouTube later. Not live. I mean, you can do that too. All right.